Hello friends, welcome! I'm Mrs. Urbach and this is Charlie, and we're so happy you're here with us today. Today I'm excited to talk about a very special American hero. But first, take a look at this quilt behind me. That quilt is called God's Eye, and it was named after a craft I used to do as a kid. This is called a God's Eye, and I learned to do this many years ago when I was a kid at camp. And it's such a fun craft to do because all you need are 2 sticks and some old yarn. And if you want to know how to make this craft, I made a video, the link's in the description below, and it'll show you what to do. So now look at this God's Eye and look back at the quilt. Doesn't it look just like the craft? Except there's a lot of them in the quilt, aren't there? That's how it got its name. Well, take a moment and think about heroes. Usually when we hear the word hero, we immediately go to superheroes like Wonder Woman or Black Panther or Spider-Man. What's your favorite superhero? I like that one too. The kind of heroes I really like, though, are regular people who do extraordinary things. Basically, they're people who do the right thing even when it's really hard and even dangerous. Well, today we're going to talk about a hero named Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. lived a long time ago in the United States when there were different rules for black people than there were for white people. And Martin Luther King Jr. knew that that was wrong, and he decided to be brave and do something to change it. I have a special book about Martin Luther King Jr. that I want us to read today, and it was actually written by his sister. Isn't that fun that she wanted to write a book about her brother? Do you have a brother? I have a brother. I haven't written a book about my brother. But Martin Luther King's sister wrote a book about him. And as you get older, you'll learn a lot about Martin Luther King Jr. as a grown-up, but it's really fun to learn about him as a kid, just like you. This book is called My Brother Martin, A Sister Remembers, Growing Up with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Martin's sister's name is Christine King Farris, and the illustrator is Chris Soonpeet. My eyes need a little help, so I'm going to put on my glasses to read. Much better. Look, here's a picture of Martin's sister when she's a grown-up. And she has a note to the readers of this book. She says, "Gather around and listen as I share childhood memories of my brother, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I am his older sister, and I've known him longer than anyone else. I knew him long before the speeches he gave, and the marches he led, and the prizes he won. I even knew him before he first dreamed the dream that would change the world." I bet you're wondering what the dream was. It was a really big dream. Do you remember what I said at the very beginning? That when Martin lived, there were different rules for people depending on the color of your skin? This was his dream. "I have a dream that one day little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers." That's a good dream. "We were born in the same room, my brother Martin and I. I was an early baby, born sooner than expected. Mother dear and Daddy placed me in the chifforobe drawer that stood in the corner of their upstairs bedroom. A chifforobe is like a dresser, so her first crib was a little dresser drawer. It's all a baby needs. They're small, right? I got a crib a few days afterward. A year and a half later, Martin spent his first night in that hand-me-down crib in the very same room. The house where we were born belonged to Mother dear's parents, our grandparents, the Reverend and Mrs. A.D. Williams. We lived there with them and our Aunt Ida, our grandmother's sister." Look at this picture. Look at the faces of everyone. I see his sister, and this must be Mother dear and Daddy, and the grandparents and Aunt Ida, and look at their faces. What do their faces tell you? They're happy. Look at them looking at little baby Martin. I bet that's how your family looked at you when you were a little baby too. They probably still look at you that way now. And not long after my brother Martin, who we called ML because he and Daddy had the same name, our baby brother was born. His name was Alfred Daniel, but we called him AD after our grandfather. They called me Christine, and like 3 peas in one pod, we grew together. Our days and rooms were filled with adventure stories and tinker toys, with dolls and Monopoly and Chinese checkers. Have you ever played with tinker toys or dolls or Monopoly or Chinese checkers? Raise your hand if you've played with at least one of those things. Me too. And although Daddy, who was an important minister, and Mother dear, who was known far and wide as a musician, often had work that took them away from home, our grandmother was always there to take care of us. I remember days sitting at her feet as she and Aunt Ida filled us with grand memories of their childhood and read to us about all the wonderful places in the world. It's story time in their house, just like it is for you and me right now. And of course, my brothers and I had each other. We 3 stuck together like the pages in a brand new book. And being normal young children, we were almost always up to something. Our best prank involved a fur piece that belonged to our grandmother. It looked almost alive with its tiny feet and little head and gleaming glass eyes. So, every once in a while in the waning light of evening, we'd tie that fur piece to a stick. And, hiding behind the hedge in front of our house, we would dangle it in front of unsuspecting passers-by. Boy, you could hear the screams of fright all across the neighborhood. Then there was the time Mother dear decided that her children should all learn to play piano. I didn't mind too much, but ML and AD preferred being outside to being stuck inside with our piano teacher, Mr. Mann, who would rap your knuckles with a ruler just for playing the wrong notes. Well, one morning, ML and AD decided to loosen the legs on the piano bench so we wouldn't have to practice. We didn't tell Mr. Mann, and when he sat, crash, down he went. They're trying not to laugh, and he does not look very happy, does he? But mostly we were good, obedient children, and ML did learn to play a few songs on the piano. He even went off to sing with our mother a time or two. Given his love for singing and music, I'm sure he could have become as good a musician as our mother had his life not called him down a different path. But that's just what his life did. My brothers and I grew up a long time ago, back in a time when certain places in our country had unfair laws that said it was right to keep black people separate because our skin was darker and our ancestors had been captured in far-off Africa and brought to America as slaves. Atlanta, Georgia, the city in which we were growing up, had those laws. Because of those laws, my family rarely went to the picture shows, which is what they called the movie theater, or visited Grant Park with its famous cyclorama. In fact, to this very day, I don't recall ever seeing my father on a streetcar, which is like a bus. Because of those laws and the indignity that went with them, Daddy preferred keeping ML, AD, and me close to home, where we'd be protected. We lived in a neighborhood in Atlanta that's now called Sweet Auburn. It was named for Auburn Avenue, the street that ran in front of our house. On our side of the street stood 2-story frame houses similar to the one we lived in. Across it crouched a line of 1-story row houses and a store owned by a white family. When we were young, all the children along Auburn Avenue played together, even the 2 boys whose parents owned the store. And since our house was a favorite gathering place, those boys played with us in our backyard. What does it look like these 3 are playing? Tag. And how about these 2? He's holding a bat, he's pitching a ball. Yeah, they're playing baseball. And ran with ML and AD to the firehouse on the corner where they watched the engines and the firemen. The thought of not playing with those kids because they were different, because they were white and we were black, never entered our minds. One day, ML and AD went to get their playmates from across the street, just as they had done 100 times before, but they came home alone. The boys had told my brothers that they couldn't play together anymore because AD and ML were Negroes. That meant that they had darker skin. And that was it. Shortly afterward, the family sold the store and moved away. We never saw or heard from them again. Looking back, I realized that it was only a matter of time before the generations of cruelty and injustice that Daddy and Mother Dear and Mama and Aunt Ida had been shielding us from finally broke through. But back then, it was a crushing blow that seemed to come out of nowhere. "Why do white people treat colored people so mean?" ML asked Mother Dear afterward. And with me and ML and AD standing in front of her, trying our best to understand, Mother Dear gave the reason behind all of it. Her words explained the streetcars our family avoided and the whites-only sign that kept us off the elevator at City Hall. Her words told why there were parks and museums that Black people could not visit, and why some restaurants refused to serve us, and why hotels wouldn't give us rooms, and why theaters would only allow us to watch their picture shows from the balcony. But her words gave us hope. She answered simply, because they just don't understand that everyone is the same. But someday, it will be better. And my brother ML looked up into our mama's face and said the words I remember to this day. He said, "Mother Dear, one day I am going to turn this world upside down." He was just a kid when he decided he was going to make that big difference in the world. Never underestimate the power of a kid. In the coming years, there would be other reminders of the cruel system called segregation that sought to keep Black people down. But it was Daddy who showed ML and AD and me how to speak out against hatred and bigotry and stand up for what's right. Daddy was the minister at Ebenezer Baptist Church. And after losing our playmates, when ML, AD, and I heard our father speak from his pulpit, his words held new meaning. Can you find Christine and ML and AD in this picture? I think they're right there in the front row with their mom, watching their dad. And Daddy practiced what he preached. He always stood up for himself when confronted with hatred and bigotry, and each day he shared his encounters at the dinner table. When a shoe salesman told Daddy and ML that he'd only serve them in the back of the store because they were Black, Daddy took ML somewhere else to buy new shoes. Another time, a police officer pulled Daddy over and called him boy. Daddy pointed to ML sitting next to him in the car and said, "This is a boy. I am a man. And until you call me one, I will not listen to you." These stories were as nourishing as the food that was set before us. His daddy sounds like he was a hero too. He was brave. It's good to stand up for yourself when someone's not treating you right. Years would pass, and many new lessons would be learned. There would be numerous speeches and marches and prizes, but my brother never forgot the example of our father or the promise he had made to our mother on the day his friends turned him away. And when he was much older, my brother ML dreamed a dream that turned the world upside down. Isn't that an inspiring story? You probably have friends who look different than you do. Can you imagine if you weren't allowed to play with them just because they look different? That would be wrong. Well, the songs that I've chosen for us today, I chose specifically because I thought they might be songs that Martin would have sang when he was a child like you. Because his daddy was a pastor at a church, and these are Sunday school songs. So it's possible he sang them. This first song is called "Jesus Loves the Little Children," and if you know it, I hope you'll sing along with me. We're going to go through it twice. The first time it's "Jesus Loves the Little Children," and the next time we go through it, it's "Jesus Cares for All the Children." Let's sing. Jesus loves the little children, all the children of the world. Red and yellow, black and white, they are precious in his sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world. Jesus cares for all the children of the world. Red and yellow, black and white, they are precious in his sight. Jesus cares for all the children of the world. This next song might also be a song you know too, and if you don't know it, it's really easy, so I think you'll pick it up and you can join in. This one's called He's Got the Whole World in His Hands. First we'll sing He's Got the Whole World in His Hands. Next we'll sing He's Got the Wind and the Rain in His hands. Next we'll sing He's Got the Little Bitty Baby in His hands, and we'll rock the baby because the baby's too big to just fit in the hands, so we have to do this. Then we'll sing He's Got You and Me Brother in His hands. And then we'll sing He's Got You and Me Sister in His hands. And then the last time through we'll repeat He's Got the Whole World in His hands. All right, sing along with me. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the wind and the rain in his hands. He's got the wind and the rain in his hands. He's got the wind and the rain in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the little bitty baby in his hands. He's got the little bitty baby in his hands. He's got the little bitty baby in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got you and me, brother, in his hands. He's got you and me, brother, in his hands. He's got you and me, brother, in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got you and me, sister, in his hands. He's got you and me, sister, in his hands. He's got you and me, sister, in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. That's a good reminder, isn't it? Well, thank you for joining me today and for talking about our American hero, Martin Luther King Jr. If you're interested in learning more about Martin Luther King Jr., or if you enjoyed the illustrations in the book by Chris Soonpeat, I'll put some interesting links in the description below, and you can check those out with a grown-up. Before we go, let's give ourselves some love. So hold out this arm and wrap it around your body, and hold out the other arm and wrap it around the other way, and give yourself a great big hug, because you are special and you are loved. Bye-bye.